One of the most dangerous moments in leadership is when people start liking you. Because if you're not careful, approval quietly replaces obedience. And every leader hits a moment where they have to decide, am I leading from conviction or am I leading from applause? 'Cause the problem is you don't usually notice the shift when it happens. And this is the reality. We tell ourselves that influence means effectiveness, but influence without conviction eventually leads to compromise. And today, I want to clarify a few things before we jump into this. Approval does feel like momentum, and applause feels like affirmation, but neither guarantees obedience, because you can be celebrated and still be drifting. So here's my question to you. Have you ever softened a decision, delayed a conversation, or avoided clarity, not because God told you to, but because people might not like it? That tells me at some point you have to decide whether you are leading from obedience or from applause. And this comes through no matter what layer of leadership you're in, whether you're the lead pastor or you just started serving in a church or you just started a new job or you're a stay-at-home mom. No matter what, at the end of the day, there is a reality to trying to work for approval of men. And this has been going since Genesis, that there is a performance mechanism in all of us that just genuinely wants to be liked. Because you're either leading from conviction, you're leading for approval. And here are 3 subtle ways approval replaces conviction. Number 1, you start editing yourself. What do I mean by this? You're starting to say less, you're avoiding edge, you're choosing safe language, because clarity feels risky. You're starting to change yourself in every room. Every room, you feel like you're a different person. Every conversation you have with each different type of personality you lead, you start to shift things. There is a level of you are trying to either have approval or approval is replacing your conviction. You can't edit yourself. You're either being authentic or you're not. And when you're authentic, people can actually see the full version of you and they can make a decision to either follow you or not. But when you're editing yourself, when you're starting to change how you communicate, you're starting to change and choose just more generalistic, safe language instead of making decisions and being clear and being a concise leader, clarity starts to feel risky. Because if I'm clear, people won't like me. If I'm clear, people will leave me. If I'm clear, they will do something else. Yes, that's the point. Because you would rather have 5 people who are bought in than 100 who are not. So you start editing yourself. Number 2, you delay obedience. Now isn't the right time. I'll revisit it later. Because this is the reality of this one. Delayed obedience often is disguised fear. That's what it is. You're either going to be obedient or you're not. Delayed obedience, by the way, is disobedience. So if you feel like God is telling you to do something and you don't do it, that's being disobedient. Beckham is 1 year old. If I tell him to do something and he does not do it, he's being disobedient. And yes, there is grace and understanding. We're all human. He's obviously 1 year old. So there is a level to understanding that we're all human and there is real fears. There's real emotions attached to everything we do. But at the end of the day, if you're editing yourself, if you're starting to change yourself just so that people will like you, or you're simply delaying obedience with spiritual language, oftentimes approval is starting to replace conviction. And number 3, you confuse peace with popularity. There's no pushback, there's no tension, there's no resistance, and because you would rather have popularity than peace. You would rather have people like you then have a sense of peace in your team, in your vision, in your mission. And I'm just here to tell you, you're not a leader. You're not a general, because a general understands, I don't need to be popular. I need to carry peace. And by the way, popularity is not a fruit of the Spirit. Love, joy, peace, patience. So peace to me is an indicator the person is in the presence of God, because when you're in the presence of God, you don't need popularity. I'm already approved by God. I don't need approval by man. And I can live in a place of peace because the absence of resistance doesn't mean the presence of faithfulness. The absence of resistance doesn't mean the presence of faithfulness. If you're just pushing back on resistance, when you feel resistance and you run away from it, that's not being faithful. That's actually being disobedient. Because you can't confuse peace with popularity. No pushback. If there is a constant state of just people do what I say, I'm either curating an environment where people lead and follow in a place of fear, or I am living in that. No tension. Tension's good. If you go to the gym and don't feel tension, you're not going to ever grow. And no resistance, the same thing. There's a thing called resistance training, because I want to grow and I want my team to grow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put them in environments where they can feel pushback, when they can feel tension, they can feel resistance, and they can actually see their leader. They can see me in all of those as well. I'm not going to hide behind spiritual language. I'm not going to hide behind leadership. What I'm going to do is I'm going to be human so they can see these ways. And again, like I said, there's 3 subtle ways approval replaces conviction. You're editing yourself, you delay obedience, and you confuse peace with popularity. And I can think of a few specific moments where I knew what the right decision was and I still hesitated. There has been, in the job world, not in the church world, there's been people that I should have laid off. There are people that I should have hired quicker. There are clients that I should have canceled their contracts quicker. I had a delayed conversation. I softened my stance on something in the church, or a moment I chose harmony over honesty. I'd rather just have everybody get along than be honest. And I can think about a specific moment where I am an Enneagram 8. I'm very direct. I'm very confrontational. I'm very honest. But if there's somebody who is super loud and just abrasive in a meeting, in a conversation, I just let them talk, because they're telling on themselves that they just want to hear their own voice, and I would rather just not even waste my time. That in itself is just letting it happen, instead of I was choosing harmony over honesty. And the longer I waited, the more expensive obedience became. And this matters. The longer you wait to be honest, the longer you wait to just be honest and have a line in the sand, the more expensive that's going to become. So the quicker you can do it, you understand that it can actually drive peace and it can actually drive respect. And again, I have stories for days of this. I even would venture to say that I have hours worth of conversations willing to be had on the side of, I tend to fight for things and be very direct, and the things that I believe in, it's really hard for me not to believe in it. So this is just the cost of leading for approval. You can write these down. You can put these in a notebook, because when approval leads, here we go, vision blurs. Vision, by the way, is not a cute statement you got from another church's planting conference, or another church that is vibrant and healthy and the leader actually got it from God and you just copied them. That's not what I mean. Vision is with your eyes closed. Sight is with your eyes open. So you got to get a vision. When vision speaks, when God speaks to you and gives you a vision, by the way, what an honor. God doesn't have to give you vision. He chooses to give you vision. So when he gives you vision and you're trying to lead from approval, the vision will become blurry. And when vision becomes blurry, people get confused. And when people get confused, they try to find a place that gives them clarity, which means they're going to leave you. So vision blurs, culture drifts. Culture is anything you create or tolerate. Strong leaders leave. I'm telling you what, if there's one lesson you can get from this podcast, your best leaders will leave you once they find out you are a person who just leads for approval. Because great leaders want to win. That's why in any professional sport, the best player on the team, if they consistently lose games, will ask for a trade. Because why? They're not trying to have good practices. They're trying to win games. And I feel the same way in the context of church. That yes, we should celebrate faithfulness. And yes, we should celebrate obedience. And there's going to be a level of everything rises and falls in leadership. The buck stops with you. And you got to be a person who understands if I'm the primary leader, if I'm an executive level leader, if I'm a team leader, I got to be a person who understands I can't lead for approval. Feedback disappears. I've talked about this one often. If feedback disappears, something is inherently wrong. This is a marriage tip. Just keep the conversation going. It's a leadership tip. Keep the conversation going. There should be a constant state of feedback. Because when people feel inherently like they can't give feedback, they are walking on eggshells. Because they have it. Everybody has thoughts. It's whether or not they feel safe around you to share those. And you carry stress that isn't yours. Because approval is addictive. Because it feels like validation. But it's also unstable because it can disappear overnight. What am I trying to say? If approval is what sustains you, silence will eventually undo you. If you live for approval, you're going to die from rejection. And think about Jesus. The same people who had palm leaves and were worshiping him were crucifying him within a week. And if you think that you can get around that by following Jesus, you're lost. And this is 4 marks of a conviction-led leader. As we wrap up, this is the quality here. These are the things that I would say. This is a person who is led by conviction, not convenience. They decide before the moment comes. There are 3 types of people in any situation that would induce fear in the situation. There's fight, flight, or freeze. Fight, that is a person who has predetermined when the moment comes, this is what I'm doing. Flight, this is also a person who has thought through, when this happens, I'm going to run. Or freeze is a person who has never decided as a predetermined decision what to do. Because values clarified it in advance, non-negotiables were named early, because conviction is not formed in crisis, it's genuinely just revealed. So if you're in the middle of a crisis, and if you haven't made predetermined decisions, you're going to freeze. And it's going to get revealed, not because God wants to shame you, he wants to heal you. And he often uses crises to create a level of vulnerability and safety so that you can grow and heal. So you decide before the moment comes. Number 2, they expect resistance. They're not surprised by tension. Not shaken by disagreement. You actually expect it. And on a staff call, on a leadership call, on a leadership night, you're expecting resistance. I want you to push back. I want you to disagree with me. Why? Because then we can have a level of confrontation to produce the best result. And the best idea wins. So if you can expect resistance, you can be willing to go through it. If I know you're going to punch me, it'll not hurt as much as if it comes on a blind side. Number 3, they separate obedience from outcomes. You gotta operate in a level of faithfulness matters to me more than results. And this is very important, and I've talked about this a lot. Integrity over optics. Because obedience is responsibility, outcomes are not. If you are operating and trying to manufacture outcomes, you are not being obedient, you're being controlling. And integrity over optics. Self-image, image management is and cannot coexist with integrity. You are a person of integrity or you're not. There is no 87% integrity. It's just like honesty. The second there is 1% of a lie, it's a lie. A 1% of pride, it's pride. So you have to understand integrity is a battle, and we started with on this, you got to predetermine. You got to predetermine when I get in this environment, when I have this conversation, when somebody texts me without my wife in it, what am I going to do? I'm not going to respond, and I'm going to add my wife to it. I'm going to communicate that to her. Because why? Integrity matters more than optics. And lastly on this one, they stay anchored in identity. They don't need constant affirmation, and they don't chase validation. Nothing more cringe to me than when a leader is constantly trying to just feel validated by people. You got to over-communicate what you did, why you did it. You got to over-communicate stories that were only supposed to be between you and God so that people would go, man, that's a great job. That you did so good there. You can't chase affirmation, and you don't need validation. If you don't know who you are, you'll let the room decide for you. And that's a lot of times leaders don't know who they are. They don't know that they are fearfully and wonderfully made. They've preached that line. They've preached Psalm 139, but they don't feel it themselves because they're chasing affirmation. And as we wrap up, I just want to give you 3 questions to ask yourself in a level of reflection so that you can grow, heal, and process. Number 1, where am I avoiding clarity to keep the peace? Whose approval do I feel most tempted to protect? And what obedience have I delayed because it might cost me influence? Because before making a decision, and this is just a simple nugget for you, before you make a decision, before you do anything, ask yourself, would I still do this if no one ever thanked me for it? Because leading from conviction doesn't mean being harsh. It just means being anchored. And at some point, every leader must decide whether they are being led by obedience or by applause. The leaders we trust most aren't oftentimes the ones that are most liked. They're just simply the most consistent. And I'm going to read through these points again on the side. These are ways that approval is replacing conviction. You're editing yourself. You delay obedience, and you confuse peace with popularity. And this is 4 marks of a conviction-led leader. They decide before the moment comes. They expect resistance. They separate obedience from outcomes, and they stay anchored in obedience. So thanks again for listening to this week's episode. If you can, like, subscribe on podcast, leave a review. My favorite thing I do is in the description. I send out a free newsletter to all my listeners, to anyone who wants to subscribe. You can have every person in your church subscribe. What it is it's a very specific leadership recommendations or advice that wouldn't inherently make a podcast. These are very specific nuggets that I want to add value to your life. So please subscribe to the newsletter. It would mean a lot to me. And again, thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next week.